Before I make any points or anything in regards to this topic, I want to mention that I really like Multiversus. I think it's a really fun game. I'm very happy with the roster. It's always been a dream to see some of these characters in a platform fighter for me. I love the music. I love the visuals. The gameplay has given me a lot of really rewarding memories. I've made a lot of really fun progress in regards as a platform fighter player. I just really love Multiversus, not just as a game on its own, but as an entry into the platform fighter genre. I like this genre, and I want more games to succeed, to have a variety of interesting games to succeed on their own merits, on their own individuality. So I just wanted to get the record straight. There's been a lot of negativity in regards to Multiversus, especially in regards to Season 4, which as I'm recording this, we're just about to enter into. It always feels like whenever there's some sort of huge update, there's some sort of weird catch. It always feels like, oh, this is the moment that Multiversus is saved, and then there's some weird thing that happens and everyone's getting into a bad mood again. And I just wanted to address that. One of the big things entering into Season 4 was the introduction of the Fighter's Road, which was hoping to alleviate one of my biggest issues in regards to Multiversus, which was the process of unlocking characters. I think the way you access characters, or the availability of accessing characters, is something that's very important in the health of not just platform fighters, but really any fighting game. And I wanted to explore that. There have been a lot of takes in regards to how Multiversus approaches doling out characters, how people are able to access characters, and I want to provide my own perspective in regards to what I think Multiversus is doing wrong, what other games of its similar style have improved on that setup, and what things Multiversus can do to improve the way players are able to access characters and play their game. So just as a perspective, just to give you put you in my headspace, I've played a few different platform fighters before playing Multiversus. I think the games I played a lot of Smash Ultimate, Smash Melee, Smash for Wii U, little bits of Brawl. Then once I got my Switch, I played a lot of Brawlhalla, which will be a big point of reference for this video. I played a little bit of Rivals of Aether, played a lot of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 1 and Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, and I've been dipping my toes a little bit in Rivals of Aether 2, and I've spent a little bit of time on Flash Party. So those are a few of the games I'm going to be referencing in this video, but let's just get into the whole deal in regards to characters. Another point of reference I actually forgot to mention is my time with Multiversus. So on top of all of my experience playing those other games, I've been playing Multiversus since the alpha. Lots of people mentioned their experience playing in the beta, more specifically the open beta, which is sort of the unofficial first release of Multiversus, but I've been playing since the alpha, and some of these issues I've been experiencing have actually been going on since the alpha. So some of these issues that I'm going to be mentioning feel like they're fundamental problems in regards to the progression and monetization of Multiversus. So in regards to the preamble, what's the big issue essentially? I think the big core issue has mostly been in regards to accessing characters, especially for a game like Multiversus, where the big draw is this crossover aspect and all these different characters from different IPs coming together. A big draw of the game has been the characters. And the biggest issue with Multiversus has been in regards to its approach to dealing out characters. So in the full release, the first release, which I can't believe came out this year in May. I think it's May. Yeah, it was in May. They introduced a couple of different currencies. In the alpha and the beta, you had gold and you had gleamium. Gold was the free currency you got just by playing the game, and then gleamium was the premium currency you bought, which you could use for cosmetics. You could also use them to buy characters, which is another very important part to mention. Unlike a few different free-to-play games, you don't exclusively earn the characters from gold. You could buy them with gold in the beta, but you could also buy them with Gleamium as well. You could pay for them with real money, essentially. So in the full release of the game, they introduced the concept of fighter currency, which was a new currency exclusively for buying characters in the full release of Multiversus. So there wasn't any gold. The gold didn't carry over or convert to anything substantial in the full release from the beta. I know that was one of the things, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but that was one of the things that bothered me, was that especially for people who were hoping to save up a whole bunch of gold to buy characters, the gold didn't convert into anything substantial in the full release. So in the full release, you have fighter currency, and with fighter currency, you use that to buy characters. You could still buy characters with Gleamium, with real money. And a lot of people had issues with how much fighter currency you could earn. You really weren't earning a whole lot of it. Sometimes you got it when people congratulated you at the end of a match with the toast system, and you got some of it during some parts of the battle pass and for some events. But otherwise, you had to play a lot of games in order to earn enough fighter currency to be able to get whatever character you want. Certain the characters were priced differently, which is a normal thing, but in general, it was really the rate at which you got the fighter currency, which was an issue. So going into season 4, before I get into season 4, let me mention something else. So there were different ways you could get characters. You could get them with the fighter currency. You could get them with Gleamium, which was the premium currency, and you could also get them from buying the battle pass. So in the full release, the first season of Multiversus, in the full release, on the first day, 2 characters were out. So there was the Joker, and then there was Jason Voorhees. So the Joker was in the store, and you could buy him with fighter currency. I believe that like new characters were 6,000 currency and old characters were 3,000 currency. And then when the next season rolled over, when the Battle Pass character got in, their prices would be reduced, or at least the first store character would be reduced. There was also the introduction of Agent Smith at the end of the season, who could be gotten early by playing Rifts, but that's something that they stopped doing going into season 2. So you also had the Battle Pass, and the Battle Pass you could only get with Gleamium. So essentially, you were buying another character with real world money. And the problem with the Battle Pass character is that for anyone who didn't want to buy it, they would have to wait until the season was over before they were able to get the character again. Going into season 4, they made a few changes in regards to unlocking characters. So for season 4, they decided not to have a character be tied to the battle pass. Rather, the new character would enter into the store when the season started, or like 3 days. There's like a whole weird early access thing or whatever, where you could only get them with like premium currency for like the first 3 days or whatever, and then like after those 3 days you could buy them with fighter currency or whatever. But there's also another big thing to that too as well, is that they stopped the release of fighter currency. You wouldn't be earning fighter currency. Instead, you would be earning Fighter's Road EXP. So they introduced the concept of the Fighter's Road, where you would be earning XP towards a specific character on a track of characters as you were playing. And as you were playing, once you earned enough XP, you would be able to unlock a specific character after making that progress. Alright, so we've laid out everything in regards to our progression in regards to how Multiversus has laid out the idea of earning characters. From the beginning of Season 1 to Season 3, characters would show up in the Battle Pass and in the store. It would take a while for Battle Pass characters to show up in the store, but you got the characters either by using fighter currency or by paying with Gleamium, whether by paying with Gleamium in the store or by buying the Battle Pass with Gleamium. And in Season 4, they introduced the concept of the Fighter's Road, where you can earn EXP towards a specific character by just playing the game, or you could buy the character with Gleamium or the remaining fighter currency that you had from the previous seasons. So now that we've introduced everything in regards to how Multiversus lays out the options for buying characters or earning characters, I think it's important to now go over the core fundamental issue with not just with unlocking characters, but basically everything in regards to Multiversus. My biggest issue with Multiversus is that it feels like the game's core goal is to get you to buy things rather than being a game that's enjoyable to progress in. Every facet of the game feels like it's focused on getting you to buy things with the Gleamium, not just cosmetics, but characters as well. You're not going to be able to make any sort of tangible progress towards anything unless you've bought a specific skin for an event or have bought a character, whether that's in the battle pass or in the store or whatever. And I think that's a really big problem because this is a free-to-play game. And I think it's a really big problem for a game like this to be price gating the means at which you interact with its systems, with the other players and such. I think it's a problem that the means in which you engage with the game is price locked. Now, I'm not I don't have the biggest amount of knowledge in regards to some other genres. I don't know if you have to pay for separate guns in free-to-play shooters or whatever, but I think that sort of thing would be kind of weird, right? Like, I think it's the one thing that's important to consider is what do you have access to if you don't spend money on anything. If you're a completely new player who joins Multiversus right now and decides not to buy anything, right? So when you start the game, you have Shaggy, who is a bruiser class. Classes are important. We'll talk about it in a bit. I believe after season 2, you could get Banana Guard instantly. As soon as you logged in, you'd also get another character, Banana Guard, who's also a bruiser. We'll get to that in a bit. And there's also a collection of free rotation characters, which is about 4 characters that are in your roster for free for I think maybe a range of like 2 weeks maybe. And those characters can basically be like whatever classes they are. They're never just like the same amount of they're never like one of each class. There are 4 classes in Multiversus: bruisers, tanks, supports. It's bruisers, tanks, mages, and assassins. And just to get it out of the way, if you want to make progress on specific event missions or the battle pass, you may need characters from different classes and such. So essentially you have 2 characters that you get for free, and then you also have the rotation characters, which is another 4 extra characters, but they change throughout the week. And there's also, with the introduction of season 4, there's also the Fighter's Road. Now, when I first jumped in on season 4, I didn't touch the Fighter's Road. This is probably something they probably added into a hotfix, but essentially what happened for me personally is that they gave me enough EXP so that I could get the newest character, Raven, without using any of my other stuff, my fighter's currency, my fighter tokens from the legacy pack that I got during the beta, which I'll talk about in a bit. So, but the thing is important to note too is that I also had all the characters at that point, so people wouldn't be getting the newest character. So that's basically what they would get. So the thing is that for a new person, they'd probably get like a really old character, probably I think either like Bugs, Finn, Jake, Superman, Wonder Woman, those types of characters, maybe Batman, maybe, because the Fighter's Road has a set selection of characters for each tier that you can work towards. You can't just pick the character that you want in the Fighter's Road. And if everything I've been saying up until this point has been sounding really convoluted, I think that's the big problem. I think the biggest issue from the beginning of Multiversus conception has been that it makes it very hard for people to simply get into the game, playing the game with the characters that they want, and playing the game in a way that they're able to earn the characters that they want on their own pace, on their own terms. Whether it's wanting to play as the newest character or trying to make some sort of progress on event missions or whatever, the game in general just does a really bad job at letting you play the characters that you want to play at the moment that you want to play them. Some things to note: recently, I believe in season 2, maybe in the middle of season 2, or maybe it was in season 3, I don't really remember, but they made a change where you could play all of the characters in local mode. It was like that in the beta, but it didn't show up in the full release, but they added that to the beta. So you can play as all the characters in local mode. You didn't have to buy them for local mode. And you could also try out every character in training as well. So those are just some of the things that you need to consider in regards to how Multiversus doles out its characters. So you only really get maybe 3 actual characters to own. 2 of them are of the same class, and also Banana Guard and Shaggy are kind of like essentially the same character. They have a lot of the same systems, very similar types of moves. They're otherwise pretty redundant. And then the next character you get won't be your own choice. It'll be some random character in a pool of characters that you might get in Fighter's Road. Now, I don't know if that big XP boost thing is still around or not. It just happened for me. I don't know if that's something that just happened because they want to get people to play Season 4 or something, but I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to be around. And also we have that random selection. So if anybody wants to play these characters online, they have a really small selection of characters. Going back to my whole point, another core issue in regards to this whole philosophy of always trying to get you to buy something is the amount of time it takes for you to earn characters. It takes a relatively long amount of time to earn really any sort of currency in regards to buying characters. In the beta, you could buy characters with gold. You earn the gold simply by playing the game or by getting through the battle pass. And for me personally, as someone who has a full-time job and someone who's also doing college work as well, I just didn't have a whole lot of time to stick my teeth into Multiversus. I wanted to have all the characters on the off chance that the game would come to a console that I could play, and I could play locally with my friends or my brothers or whatever. And it just became a problem where I couldn't get all the characters. I am also a content creator, so I like making videos about characters and such. Not having access to all the characters was really frustrating. It took a really, really, really long time in the beta to get enough gold to get any character. Alongside this, you also used gold for perks, not just the signature perks that are unique to each character, but also the pool of general perks that you could use to augment your character's abilities during the fights. So gold was very multi-purpose. You had to decide whether or not you wanted to save up your money to buy a new character or to get perks for your character so that you could use them in battle. I think you also had I think how it worked was that you bought the perks individually for characters, and then you could also decide to buy it so that it was unlocked for everybody in your roster as well. So you're still always paying money for that sort of thing. Ultimately, I realized it was going to take me too long to get every character that I wanted, and I wanted to try everybody. So what I ended up doing was I got the Founders Pack for Multiversus, which I believe came out in the beta. And I got the biggest one. I think it came with about 20 character tokens and a lot of different cosmetic stuff. It came with a lot of cosmetic stuff, but the biggest important thing was the character tickets. With that, you could just get a character. You could just get whatever character you want for the cost of 1 token. And so my strategy was, anytime a character would release, I would just get them with a token, and I would save up my gold so that when I ran out of tokens eventually, I could just buy whatever characters I want, and I'd have a good stash of coins, good stash of gold that I could use to buy whatever characters I want. Then we got to the full release and they got rid of gold and they turned it into like some unnecessary like banner or something. It didn't convert into fighter currency at all. So I had to start from scratch. I still had some character tokens. They couldn't get rid of those because, you know, you paid for them. But I had those and I figured once I'm done, it was the same strategy. Once I'm done, I'll just use the amount of fighter currency that I have to buy the characters that I want. It was just something I always had to be aware of, that inevitably I'd be running out of tokens, and then I would just use the currency that I'd be earning. Then in season 4, they got rid of fighter currency and they introduced the Fighter's Road. Now, a lot of people have some issues with the Fighter's Road. For instance, you can't choose the character you want to work towards. So the newest character will be the hardest character to earn, which for a lot of people is frustrating because that will probably be the reason why they would want to play the game. If someone saw Raven or Marceline in season 4 and figured, hey, I want to play the game, I want to play these characters, well, if they don't want to cough up money for these characters, it's going to take them a really, really long time to work towards them because the newest character will be at the end of the road. A lot of people also had some issues in regards to the battle pass not including a character as well. And I have to disagree that I don't think that being in the game was good as well, mostly because it forced people to buy the battle pass and also artificially inflated the value of the battle pass as well. I think the biggest problem with that is that it forced people to either wait the entire season or for the battle pass to be over so that the character would transition into the store, or they just bought the battle pass because they want to play the newest character now. I think it's a really poor way of adding value to the battle pass. I think the battle pass actually has a lot of value, mostly in regards to the fact that it's a cheaper way of getting a ton of cosmetics and a ton of prestige points at a discounted price. All of the items in the battle pass will eventually return to the store after the season ends at some point, but it's definitely a guarantee that every item in the battle pass won't cost the same amount as the battle pass on its own. So you're getting a good handful of cosmetics for a discounted price. Alongside that, every cosmetic that you get would get you prestige points, which you could use to get free items in the prestige store. The battle pass does have value, and it doesn't need to lock a character for a certain amount of time behind buying it with real money in order to provide that value. I just think it wasn't a good system, but I also don't think that the Fighter's Road is a good system as well. In general, it just removes a lot of choice from your ability to earn towards characters. If someone already has the entire roster, then the fighter EXP that you earn goes towards the battle pass, but at a really ridiculously reduced amount. So it ends up not being worth it. You're not able to bank anything, essentially. Essentially what they did is they removed currency, so you can't save up towards a character that you want. You can't save EXP towards a character that you actually want to buy. They've removed choice, and they removed the ability to work towards a character and to save up for a character that you want to buy. Overall, in general, the biggest issue with all these artificial inconveniences is that they want you to be able to buy characters with money. And I think that's a real big problem in general, for motivating people to buy things through frustration and inconvenience rather than being invested in the product. I just think it's not a good thing to have these characters be locked behind currency through these different inconveniences. I think inversely, I'd like to take a crack at looking at the approaches that other games have in regards to their character, how they allow people to access characters. I've talked about Brawlhalla a lot, especially in regards to the last Multiversus video that I did. And just for a brief reminder, the way Brawlhalla works is that it does have its own set of currencies. It has mammoth coins, which are the premium currency which you use to buy cosmetics, but you also have gold, which you earn by playing the game or by progressing through their battle pass or by completing missions. and you use gold for a select few cosmetics like colors, but you mostly use them to buy characters. Now, Brawlhalla, I believe, also has a rotation of free characters for a select amount of weeks. I believe it's 2 weeks, but the selection of characters is larger. They give you about like maybe 8 characters instead of just 4. Alongside this, at least in my experience, I found that earning gold doesn't take a huge amount of time. I think within a few sessions you should be able to get maybe like a low cost character. So I believe that you still have enough good choices in regards to playing characters, gaining the characters that you want. I think the most interesting thing about Brawlhalla is that it has its own separate way of getting every character. It has an all legends pass. I believe it's $30 or $40. I remember the time when I got the Legends Pass, it was discounted, so I believe it was like $20. And essentially what this pass gets you is it gets you every single character forever. So whenever there's a new character that comes out, you get that character automatically, and you don't have to buy it with gold. And if you did buy characters with gold, that gold gets refunded back to you. So now you can use that gold almost exclusively for seasonal colors whenever they show up in the store and stuff. And you get every character you want for free. So if you don't want to spend a whole bunch of time getting every single character, you can just make a one-time purchase. And I think the thing that always astounds me is that Brawlhalla is a game that not a whole lot of people really respect. But people are also really baffled by the fact that it's always considered like the most played fighting game on like Steam or whatever. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Brawlhalla is a very, very easy game to get into. I'm not talking in regards to skill, I'm talking about how easy it is to access characters. Yeah, so I think that what has led to the key success to Brawlhalla has been how easy it is to access characters, how easy it is to play the game essentially. And I think that's also what's motivated people to make purchases with the premium currency. Because it's so easy to access characters, you feel way more invested in making purchases that will allow you to customize and express yourself. Brawlhalla has a lot of different systems that gives you a lot of different avenues to express yourself. You get weapon skins and various different costumes and colors. So you have a lot of different avenues for expressing yourself. And because the base game is so easy to get full access to, I feel like people are way more invested in buying crossover skins or regular skins or weapon skins or whatever, simply because they're way more invested in the game, and the game makes it really, really easy for you to get into the game. I think this is the approach I'd like to take Multiversus. I think Multiversus should be taking. Inversely, I'd also like to take a brief look at Flash Party. I'm going to be very frank with you. I'm not the biggest fan of Flash Party. I try to be gracious because people tend not to be very kind to other platform fighters that aren't Smash Brothers. But I also don't think I should be dishonest about how I feel about certain things. So yeah, I think just off the rip, Flash Party isn't necessarily my thing. But I think my biggest frustration with Flash Party is that it has a similar system to Multiversus. You don't get like the full roster, or you don't have an easy way to get the full roster simply by just playing the game. Almost every character has to be purchased with a set of premium currency. Now, it does have a pass similar to Multiversus, not necessarily like Brawlhalla, where you can pay for, I believe, 30 characters. For, I believe, $50, you get 30 characters, even though this is a free-to-play game with a recurring, like a constantly updating cast of characters, meaning that eventually if you want to get more characters, you would have to continuously be paying for those characters. Now, I haven't played the game in a while. I don't know if they've made any updates in regards to how easy it is to get characters. But I think in general, I think Flash Party just has a much harder uphill battle to convince people to play. Unlike games like Smash Brothers or Multiversus, It doesn't have too many characters outside of, I think, maybe one or other characters that are from other IPs. And so it has a large gap to close in regards to getting people invested in its characters. And I think it's really shooting themselves in the foot by having characters have to be paid with real world money when you first get into the game, you only get maybe 3 characters. At least as far as I remember, they also don't have the thing with Multiversus where you can play all of the characters in local mode. The characters that you earn or buy are the only characters you get in local mode. So you don't even have the luxury of being able to play every character offline. And then of course there's also other games that you pay to access the full game, like Smash Ultimate or the Nick Brawl games or the Rivals of Aether games. Now, Rivals of Aether 1 had paid DLC, but it was also a paid game, so I think that's the difference, right? A lot of people tend to justify Multiversus allowing you to pay for these characters because they're very high quality characters. They're worth the money. And I don't really agree with that logic. That isn't to say that I don't think the Multiversus characters are high quality, but I think it's in the context of what the game is. The game is free to play. The main way that you engage with a fighting game is with characters. And I think that not giving people options is a problem. I think it's a problem when the entire roster has to be paid for with real money. I think like it really came down, I think it was like about like $220 someone calculated at the start of season 1 to get every character if you weren't playing from the beta, right? And I think that's a lot of money. Like, I think if Multiversus was like a game that released similar to Smash Brothers or Smash Ultimate or Nick Brawl or something, I think it'd probably be like, what, $30 or $40? But if you want to get the entire roster, you'd have to probably pay around like $240 or something to get the current roster, right? Because obviously there's going to be more characters coming in the future, right? And the frustrating thing is that it's not like you just pay for them, right? It's like it's the game constantly pushing you towards getting these characters. Characters give you boosts for events, or characters lock you out of specific paths in Rifts mode or something. There's no really easy way for you to just earn all the characters, right? You know, Fighter's Road restricts the characters that you want to earn, that you're able to select to earn, and it also takes a very long time to get enough Fighters EXP to be able to even earn one character. Overall, in general, there are a lot of, you know, system issues or mechanical issues or, you know, server issues and stuff that need to be dealt with Multiversus. But for me, I think the reason why some other games are more successful or are going to be more successful, like say, I don't know, comparison like Rivals of Aether 2 or Marvel's Rivals, it's just because of the ease of access, right? The ease of access to be able to play any character you want whenever you want. Like, the game makes it very easy for you to find yourself in that game, to be able to play the game in your way and grow in your own way. And I think that's a real problem with Multiversus. I think it's a problem because for me personally, if Multiversus is so dedicated to getting you to spend money, then I feel like it should be it should allow players to feel invested in the game. But they can't if the game is always pressuring them to buy something, even something that they might not know that they even like or not, simply because they want to make progress towards like an event or something, or even just simply they want to have the full roster. So I've laid out a lot of issues in regards to Multiversus and its approach to unlocking characters. So I think it would be important to maybe try and offer some solutions. I think, me personally, if I were to make some sort of approach to fixing the approach to unlocking characters, I would, first off, the characters don't return to the Battle Pass. We're not doing characters in Battle Pass. I think that's a really bad idea. It wastes a lot of people's time and forces people to buy something that I think they don't really need to. I've actually grown to not really like Battle Passes all that much, even though I think Multiversus in a vacuum is pretty alright. I like that, the items aren't exclusive and you'll be able to pay for them later if you do miss a battle pass. But in general, I think adding characters to the battle pass really inflated the value of the battle pass in an artificial way. So first off, no characters in the battle pass. I don't think that's a good idea. I think second off, Fighter's Road, I think in general it needs to be easier to just be able to earn fighter EXP. I know there's fighter EXP in the battle pass and in event missions and such, but in general I think it just should be easier to get more EXP by just playing the game. And in general, I think the whole tiered system is also something that's really a problem. I think they need to have it so maybe you're working towards a fighter ticket maybe. And then once you get that ticket, you can earn whatever character. You can pick it for whatever character you want. I also think in that way, you can also allow people to always be working towards getting multiple characters so that if they say have the entire roster, they're not just wasting their time by getting a negligible amount of Battle Pass EXP. I think having that system where essentially you're able to bank EXP into a ticket and then use that ticket to buy whoever you want gives players agency and allows them to be able to get the stuff that they want. Lastly, I realized that obviously Warner Brothers wants to make a profit off of the game. So in my personal opinion, what they should probably adopt should be a fighter's pass, essentially. Like a pass similar to the All Legends pass in Brawlhalla, where you buy this pass and you get every single character and all future characters. I think that's the way it should be, honestly. I think if they really want people to buy the characters with money, I think they should make it a really easy way for people to just get the characters and never have to worry about whether or not they need to be spending money or if they have enough time to earn stuff. I personally would keep it to like $30 or like $40, but if it's really important to be earning a whole bunch of money, I'd say keep it at like $60 or whatever, right? Pay $60, get every character, get every future character, never have to pay for a character, like as long as you get that pass, right? I think that's the biggest issue with Multiversus as of right now, is that it's super invested in you wanting to buy skins, buy cosmetics, buy characters, but in the process of that, it makes every facet of the game super inconvenient and frustrating, so that you're forced to buy things rather than being motivated to buy things because you're invested in it. Yeah, that's really my core issues with Multiversus so far. I think it's a really poor philosophy to be so dedicated to having people spend money that it comes at the cost of people's attachment to the game. The characters are the way in which you engage with the game, and I think the reason why so many other games have been so successful is simply because they make getting into the fun of the game as accessible as possible. I do think Multiversus is a game that has the potential to exist in this genre for a long time. I do think it's a good game and it's a very fun game, but I do think it also has an uphill battle that it needs to overcome in order to retain its player base. I do think it has the potential to do that, and I am excited to see what's in store for this game in the future.